Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queer Lawyers Speak, hosted by LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus bar association. My name is Adam Zebelian. I'm a partner at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, where I practice family law, and I'm also the current president of LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus bar association. Today's topic is the next generation, and we have a special guest with us to talk about that topic, Jesus Meraz, who is a law student at UIC. And I believe you're about to graduate in May, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you're also a student board member of LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus bar association. And I know student board members don't really get to do much other than observe and see how the board works, but you have consistently throughout the years attended our meetings. So it's very special to have you here to talk about what's happening next with our community. So welcome, Jesus.
Thank you so much.
So why don't you introduce yourself, Jesus, to the audience?
Awesome. So as you mentioned, my name is Jesus Meraz, and I'm a third-year law student at UIC Law. I'm also a husband, son of immigrants, and full-time I work in human resources at a large marketing agency.
Well, I actually didn't know that, so I thought you were working at a law firm right now.
No, so I also work at one of the clinics at the law school. So it's the International Human Rights Clinic, and I specifically am on the community outreach team. So we increase legal literacy in the community through Know Your Rights presentations at different schools, churches, and things like that.
Oh, interesting. So one special fact about you is that you have taken a non-traditional path to law school. Explain that.
Yeah, so I'm in the part-time evening course, so it's a 4-year program. So I always am interested when people ask me, am I a 3L? I like to say, well, I'm actually a 4L.
And what's a 3L? You mean you're in your third year of law school. 1L's first year, 2L's second year, third year, 3L. And you say you're 4L.
Exactly.
You're your fourth year.
Yeah, so I feel like I had my 2L experience twice. So I had an extra summer to really understand what I want to do, and last summer I interned with the Air Force JAG Corps. So that really was my first legal experience. And then last semester I was able to do another clinic at the law school. So that was CSEC, Community Enterprise and Solidarity Economy. So now I have my third experience, and it's really great to see all these different experiences because as a law student, all the doors are open to you and you get to choose what you want to do in the future.
Yeah, that's great. And you currently have a job. You've accepted an offer, is that right?
Yes. So post-graduation, I did accept a position with the Army JAG Corps. So prior to law school, I was in the Army for 8 years. And I think it's natural that we always think it's greener on the other side. So I tried the Air Force JAG and I realized, well, I know the Army so well, it only makes sense to go back. And they do accept third-year law student applicants for the reserves program. So I plan to go to training in January for 4 months. And then once I finish that, it'll be 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. So I'll still keep my full-time job now working in human resources, and I'll do a leave of absence.
So the position with JAG, Army JAG, is not full-time?
Correct. So it's with the Army JAG Reserves. So when I was in the Army prior, I was in the National Guard. That is the same commitment, 2 weeks in the summer and 1 weekend a month. And I was also deployed when I was in the National Guard. So a lot of people don't know the Army that well, and that's perfectly fine. It's a small percentage of the population that is a veteran. So I knew I was always interested in ROTC from way back in middle school. The high school that had the ROTC program came kind of recruiting different students, and I wanted to take the class, but it was at the same time as my dance class. So I studied dance, and then when I graduated and joined the Army, a lot of people said, oh, I didn't know you were interested in the military. And I was like, well, that makes sense that you didn't realize that. Had it not been for my dance class being at the same time, I would have done ROTC.
Where did you go to undergrad?
So I went to Illinois State University and got a degree in marketing. So I don't work in marketing, but I'm at a large marketing agency, which I always wanted to work at.
So you danced in college?
Yes, I did, actually. I was going to get a minor in dance, but it would have been an extra semester. And because I was deployed, my graduation was postponed a year, but I took college classes in high school, so I was supposed to graduate a year early. So I graduated just on time.
All right. So you're You're really out there. You're aggressive. You're a go-getter. That's good. That's good. That'll help you in your legal practice. So you graduate in May. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. First lawyer in your family?
Yes.
How is that? How's that adjustment?
So
It matters. If your dad's a lawyer, if your mom's a lawyer, your grandfather, grandmother, they can kind of give you an idea of how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And although my parents weren't lawyers, my grandparents weren't lawyers. Ironically, my mom's grandparents were lawyers. So I guess I'm still first. I'm relatively first generation.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's hard when you don't really know what you're getting into when you enter law school. And you haven't been there yet, but you will be there soon. Practice.
Right.
It's a stressful profession. It can be very rewarding, but people that have family members that are already lawyers have a little bit of a leg up. Tell us how that's been for you being first generation.
Yeah, so I think it really made an impact when I decided to go to law school. I didn't really know any lawyers, let alone know lawyers who looked like me. So I thought I'd apply, give it a shot. I got in. I actually got a scholarship, so was really excited. And I'm used to excelling in school. I actually got my MBA from UIC right before. So I graduated in 2019, and that's when I heard that UIC and John Marshall were merging to offer law school. That's the first public institution in Chicago. And because of my military benefits, it affords me to go to public schools, tuition free. So UIC Law School was the only choice for me. So it was the only school I applied to, which some people are like, you only applied to one school? I'm like, if it's meant to be, I'm going to get in. If not, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing. So I think a lot of my family doesn't know exactly what it means to be a lawyer, and that's something I wish I had known going into law school. They tell you it's a lot of work, but nobody prepares you for that. So I think nobody really understands the amount of work that a law student has to go through besides other law students or attorneys. So I found a really good sense of camaraderie with LAGBAC. So I had a mentor through LAGBAC as well and through UIC. But I think with LAGBAC, having somebody who looks like me and has the same interests as me, kind of has that same background, really made a difference. So they set me up for success because we met once a month right before my internship. So
Your mentor through LAGBAC?
Yes, exactly. We would get coffee in the morning on Fridays. And I think just being a part of this community, they know how tough it is, so they want to help others succeed. So I went to Lavender Law, the National LGBTQ conference 2 years ago. It was here in Chicago. And I met somebody who introduced me to the Air Force JAG. And so I followed them on LinkedIn. That's how I learned about the summer internship. I applied. Obviously, I got it. And so it's just really been a great whirlwind. And because I'm graduating soon, I've been reflecting a lot. And I think every professor has given me different things that I can use in my career, but really the students, my classmates, and the friends that I've kind of made along the way have made it all worth it.
So I didn't know you had an MBA. That's pretty impressive. And you're working at a human resources firm, is that right?
So one of the largest advertising firms in the world in human resources. Specifically, I'm the director of talent acquisition.
Okay. Now, well, I won't ask you that. I was going to ask you whether you want to continue in that role. Of course you do.
Yeah.
So what is the JAG Corps? What is it for people that don't know?
So the Judge Advocate Group. So it is kind of like the law firm of the military. So it can be a little bit confusing on who exactly is your client because one, is it the commanding officer or is it the military at large? So the JAG Corps does advise commanding officers on what are some legal considerations that they should take into consideration when they're thinking about doing X, Y, or Z. So I found it really similar or having transferable skills to the private sector. Sometimes people ask me like, well, isn't military law very different from like law that we have here? And I tell them, well, if you wanted to know the law, you can Google it pretty quickly. So lawyers
We don't
apply.
recommend it.
Definitely.
We still have a purpose.
Yeah, but if you were to practice in a different state, you have to learn the laws, the rules, and regulations of that jurisdiction. So it's really that application where we bring a lot of value.
And from what I understand, when you're a JAG lawyer, for a certain period of time you'll be maybe criminal defense,
Yeah.
and then another period of time you're the prosecutor. Is that right?
Yes, so you can do a lot of different things, which is why I chose that internship specifically. Because of my HR background, I have an interest in labor and employment law, so I did get to touch on a little bit of that during my internship. There's also environmental law that you have to take into consideration, maybe helping veterans or active duty service members with landlord-tenant disputes if they're living off base or maybe even on base. There's contract law because the military obviously signs a lot of contracts. It's great experience for somebody who's new or early on in their career because the value of the contracts are so large, and then you do get that trial experience early on. So I won't know exactly what I'm doing until I start training and I get assigned somewhere. But
Do you go through all of those different areas of the law while you're in JAG, or can you specialize? Not specialize because we don't use that term here in Illinois, but focus on one practice area.
yeah, so there's a couple different things that you can do. There are like external contractors who are attorneys for the JAG, and then there's military service members who are in the JAG. So they have a little bit of different requirements or some obligations. For example, in the military, you usually have a number of years that you must complete. So I want to work towards my retirement. So I have 8 years out of the 20 done, so just need 12 more. And
Spoken like a person with an MBA.
yeah.
It comes in handy.
Yeah, so I know the years are going to pass by. So 4 years ago when I was 28, I told myself, well, I'm going to be 32, either with a law degree or without. So I'd rather be 32 with the law degree.
That's a great way to look at it. The time's going to go by. You might as well be doing something productive
Yeah.
while that time is passing. So that's a great way to look at it. So you said you're 32, is that right?
Yes.
You're not Gen Z, are you?
I don't think so.
You're a very young millennial.
I'll take it.
Okay. When you entered military service, was Don't Ask, Don't Tell still in place, or had that been repealed?
So I actually joined the day after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, coincidentally.
On purpose? Oh, no, it was just a coincidence.
So I started talking with the recruiter that was at my university, Illinois State, and he kind of asked me like, oh, like you're studying dance and you want to be in the military? I said, absolutely. There's actually famous dancers who were in the military prior. Yeah, I don't want to get the name wrong, but it's kind of back in the day, but you'd be surprised. I think I really fell in love with kind of the Army recruiting, be all that you can be. So I think they got rid of that slogan and it's coming back, but it's a really great stepping stone. I mean, it opened up a lot of doors for me. I will say I was somewhat of a rebel child. So I signed when I was 18 because I didn't need my parents' permission. Another thing I signed when I was 18, senior year of high school, I signed my own waiver to be on the cheerleading team because I didn't need my parents' permission.
You're a Renaissance man. You have lots of different interests. So you go from cheerleading, dance, military service.
Exactly.
Okay, good. That well-rounded is important, and you've done that with your education, I can tell, as well, which is good. Where'd you deploy to?
I was in Kuwait. It was 2014, and it was about a 10-month deployment. So it was definitely very hot. I think it's a great opportunity because I would have never gone there had it not been for the military. So I tell people we would go from one area to where we were living to our place of work, maybe a very short distance, like a block or so. And we would wear military uniforms, so we have the full jacket. And people ask, like, well, isn't it really hot? And it's like, well, when it's that hot, you actually wear it to protect your skin because the sun is so strong. And so we'll take our jackets off in the office, and the jacket is still hot for like 30 minutes or an hour after. So one of my superiors actually put a thermometer outside just to see how hot it would get. It got to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which I didn't think was physically possible. But yeah, definitely felt that.
Wow. So you joined the military the day after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed.
Yes.
Were you out when you joined the military?
When I joined, no, not exactly. But I did have some confidants that I was out to. A lot of them were female, so people would see me with females and they would think automatically like, oh, there must be some fraternization going on. And I'm just like, oh, if you only knew. Like, that is not what's going on here. So we kind of found it humorous because I think like when I'm out of uniform, it's so obvious. Like, can't you tell? Like, I'm openly gay. I'm not going to, have it tattooed on my forehead or anything like that. But I think I'm an open book.
Did you confront any prejudices based on perceived sexual orientation while you were in the military?
No, I actually felt really well accepted by the military. So I joined in 2011, and I went to Illinois State. I was in two fraternities, so a social fraternity, Alpha Sigma Phi, and a business fraternity. So after I realized I was accepted by my comrades in the military, I came out to both the business fraternity and the social fraternity. And back then it was a different time, but both groups really accepted me as well. So it was a really great feeling to know that I had brothers and sisters, both professionally, socially, and just around, because I think being from a small town, you don't see a lot of LGBTQ professionals or people who look like you. So I'm from Rockford, Illinois, and I went to school in Bloomington Normal, so kind of another small area. So I've been in Chicago about 10 years, and seeing people in LAGBAC, or even knowing that these organizations exist, I think is really important. Visibility matters, and it's definitely made an impact on me.
You're a child of immigrants, is that right? From where?
My parents are from Mexico. They're high school sweethearts, yeah. So
Did they meet here in the United States, or?
They met in high school. Yeah, in Mexico.
Oh, in Mexico.
Yeah. So they're from Chihuahua, and so we have a Chihuahua. His name is Coco. Yeah, he's really cute.
I have a Coco myself.
Okay.
She's a poodle, and she's got the attitude as well. I ask that because you're also involved in HLAI, Hispanic Lawyers Association of Illinois. What kind of roles do you play in that organization?
Yeah, so there I'm not a student board member or anything like that. I do go to a lot of their events that they have, so I try to be as active as possible. So it's one part of my identity that I like to lean on. So of course, LGBT community being another. So I think that kind of cross intersection of different diverse backgrounds is important. So I know LAGBAC and HLAI sometimes have events, and so it's important that I don't see myself just as like LGBTQ or just as Hispanic, but as something that's the best of both worlds. I don't think either side has to kind of limit itself or sacrifice itself. It can kind of flourish. So I recently got my HLAI stole for graduation, so what goes over your gown, and I'm really excited to kind of help future Hispanic law students or lawyers if they ever reach out. I've had people reach out to me, ask about, how do you manage full-time work and part-time school? So I always try to respond on LinkedIn, or if somebody messages me via text or call. I think it's important because I didn't really have anybody who I knew, so I know that it'll be beneficial, even if they decide not to go to law school, because it's 3 or 4 years that you can't get back. So you got to make the right decision that's right for you.
So true. Do you have any idea or thoughts about where your generation of queer lawyers are headed based on the current environment that we're all living in?
Yeah, so this might be an unpopular opinion, but I try to be optimistic. So I think we're headed in a...
That's the wrong way to approach things as a lawyer. But you'll get there one day, trust me.
Okay. So I have a hope for a bright future. And I say that because recently at one of the Meet the Bar events through LAGBAC, I met somebody who asked me like, oh, what's it like being gay in law school? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what are you asking me? I don't understand. And then I realized, oh, it was different back when he was in law school, because now I don't feel any different than what a straight person feels like in law school. I feel very much accepted and celebrated. But I heard from him that that was not the case maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. He said he felt very much like an outcast, maybe even bullied, ashamed, like he had to hide a certain part of himself. So I feel, I'm going to say, 95% confident that we're not going to go back there. We might have to fight a little bit for more progress, but I'm the VP of our LGBT student organization, so that's Outlaw, and it's a great name. I definitely love that. So I'm definitely out whenever I'm at the HLAI events. I even wore my rainbow socks today.
So actually your entire outfit is coordinated in some ways. You have the UIC colors.
Yes, red, white, and blue.
And then you have your LGBTQ plus socks.
Yes.
Great, great. And when you talk about meeting with your mentor and stuff, that was through the formal mentor-mentee program run by LAGBAC.
Exactly.
So that was a very
good match
and good benefit, or a good benefit to have as a member of LAGBAC.
Yeah, I think a lot of students who go the K through JD route think about the academics, but I think working prior, I understand the value of networking and having real-world experience. And if I don't have that, I can lean on mentors to kind of learn from their experience.
Big news happened in your life recently, right?
Yes.
What is that news?
I got married.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We got married in Denmark in December.
Oh, that's fun. So what does your husband do for a living? Lawyer?
No, not a lawyer. I think we have enough in the family.
Yeah, I always say, and this is speaking as a divorce lawyer, there only needs to be one lawyer in the relationship. Two is not a good idea.
Yeah, I will say he is very smart, though. He is also very attentive. So I asked him a question, and he was kind of jokingly mocking me, and he said, "It's confidential." And I found that very cute.
What does he do for a living?
Yeah, so he was working in finance, but because we got married, he actually quit his job so that we could be together. So he is a Singapore citizen, so we're working through the immigration process right now.
Oh, fantastic, and I hope all goes well.
Me too. So I mentioned I was working in the International Human Rights Clinic at UIC, so I've gotten a little bit more exposure to immigration law, which I think has been helpful, and I've also used the lawyer benefits that we have through my health insurance from work.
Good. Are you still doing that clinic through UIC?
So my last day was on Monday. We had our last event. Yep, so all of our hours were due. I submitted my hours report as well as my reflection, and then graduation's May 11th, but the grades are due May 24th, so we'll see how I did then.
Then you sit for the bar.
In July, yes.
When do you start studying?
I started in February, so I'm about 40% of the way through my course. So I'm doing the 6-month bar prep course, and I chose that because I wanted to remain working. I really like my organization, and I was promoted last year, so I've taken on additional responsibilities. So instead of the typical 8 to 10 hours a day for 2 to 3 months that most law students do, I'm doing 2.5 hours a day every day for 6 months. I will say I don't always do it every day, so sometimes it adds up, and I'll do 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So it all kind of works out.
Traditionally, you would study for the bar starting after graduation and just cram all the way until the July bar. But how you're doing it, it's likely the more smarter way to go about things. I didn't have that option. I didn't even know you could study for the bar for 6 months. So that's a good aid and practice to get into for future lawyers, because it is a lot of information to cram into 2 months.
Yeah, I looked at a few different commercial bar prep options, and there was only a few that offered an extended course. So they were a little bit more expensive, but I thought, I only want to take this exam once, so it's worth the investment.
Now, you are going to get asked the question I ask all our guests, and you kind of already touched on it.
Okay.
What's your coming out story?
Yeah, so I remember being deployed in Kuwait. It was a hazardous duty station at the time. So I was thinking, I might not make it out of here, and I would have never came out to my parents. Like, I want to have a good relationship with my family and for them to know who I really am and not hide anything from them. So when I came back home, my cousin was actually staying with us, and she's from Mexico. So we've built a really good relationship. She was actually at my wedding recently, and I told her, I was like, I think I'm going to come out to my family on Thanksgiving at dinner. And she was like, oh, wow, like, that's amazing. Like, I'll support you. So fast forward, we get to the dinner at my grandparents' house, and dinner's starting to wrap up, and my cousin notices I haven't said anything. So as a great ally, she taps her glass and she says, you guys, Jesus has an announcement he'd like to make. So I'm very nervous. She hands me cocoa, so I feel that warmth and embrace. And I come out right then and there. So it was pretty quiet, and my grandparents, English is their second language, so I don't know if they didn't understand me or if they didn't hear me because I was soft-spoken, but they didn't say anything. So one at a time, my parents took me into another room to kind of have like a private conversation and asked me like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And I think the next day, I went on a gay cruise.
To celebrate.
Yeah, so it was really great. You know, growing up, I never thought I would be married because it wasn't legal, let alone have my parents at my wedding. So my parents were at my wedding in December, and I actually met my husband when I was working in Singapore through the company that I'm at now. And that same cousin was there. We were visiting my sister who was living there for a little bit. So it was really special to me that she was at our celebration.
That's great. Great story.
Thank you.
And a positive story as well.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much, Jesus, for being on the show and talking with us today about many personal things. And we really appreciate it. And good luck with the bar and in the future. All right?
Thank you so much.
Yep. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.